YouTube, what's going on? It's Mesa back at it with some Destiny. So guys, I've got a special guest on today, the infamous Cool Guy. Say hello, Cool Guy.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I talk with Mesa a lot on Twitter, and so much. He's helped me out so much, and this is the first time I've actually got to speak with him, so it's a big plus for me.
I'm a big fan of his because he is a PvP scientist that can explain it to scrubs like myself. So, wanted to get him on here so we can discuss what we would like in the next weapon balance update. Now, this week at Bungie is going to hit next week, and they said there's going to be no big reveals. Probably going to be Iron Banner, but we all know we're due for a weapon balance update. So what we're going to do is talk about a few things. We're going to start off with some exotics that I think need to go under the knife for some surgery, and then we'll talk about some of the classes here and get his thoughts and opinions. So first off, let's talk about some hand cannons, and two that I think need to go under the knife, and maybe it's just I'm terrible with them and other people aren't, but I don't see them being utilized a lot, and that is going to be Hawkmoon and Thorn. What are your thoughts and opinions on what Bungie can do to them to make them a little bit more viable in the Crucible?
Well, first, I wish Hawkmoon still had Send It. At first, it did have Send It, and then they took it off. I think there were 2 range perks, now there's just 1.
Yeah.
I haven't used Hawkmoon in a while. Both of them in general, just the range cap, and it's so unfortunate that on hand cannons you need range to connect your shots, and you really feel it with Hawkmoon. So if anything out of the rip, it needs more range. But hand cannons are kind of in a spot where the majority of PvP, a lot of good players, we use hand cannons, and they're in a spot where they got adjusted to where we get those phantom bullets, right? You hear that?
Yeah, the shots ghost bullets.
Yeah, the shots are actually firing, but they're just not hitting where you go. Mm-hmm. So that's Bungie's kind of way, I guess, the accuracy issue of balancing them out. Because what a lot of people do is you can peek shot with them, you can do a lot of good things with hand cannons, and they would be very, very strong right now if you hit every single shot. But I'm on the fence of buff. We need to buff a lot of weapons, but I don't like the accuracy issues like you talked about Hawkmoon, right?
Yeah. Because I try to use Hawkmoon in PvE every day just for fun. To me, it's one of the best sounding guns, looking guns, coolest guns. But I even notice those phantom bullets when I'm shooting ads. You know what I mean? I clearly got a critical, and it didn't register as anything. It just flies right past that Cabal or Fallen's head. You know, I'm like, where did it go?
Oh, absolutely. So I think it was 2.0. I mean, you can go way back into the patch notes. You know, one of the first things they said, we're able to actually adjust effective range and damage drop off, and you know they showed like the captain with the assault rifle. But my real issue with the hand cannons, you need range on them, so a lot of guns are immediately kind of thrown out when you get them because they don't have range. I mean, for PvP. But what nobody really talks about is, especially at those mid-range fights. I mean, the Clever Dragon, it's running the show right now. Would you say? I mean, you see them everywhere.
Oh yeah, we'll get to Clever Dragon. We'll get to the pulse rifles.
You know, it flinches you really hard, but the deal is when you're firing back and you know that you land that shot, but you're not hitting him, so you're not applying flinch to him. So that's a whole nother aspect of the hand cannon. Not only are you missing, but you're not combating the flinch back, and he's just flinching you more and more and more.
Right.
And I do wish that the balance in the Crucible would be just purely effective range. I don't care if it's 2 miles out. If I hit you with a hand cannon, if it does 7 damage to your toe, at least it hits exactly where I'm aiming. You know.
Right.
But the whole accuracy issue is really on a lot of players' minds, and it has been for a while. But range, I mean, Hawkmoon needs range. I mean, out of the gate.
So range and accuracy. Now, with regards to Thorn, now I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this. I think the damage over time needs to be increased. Not much, and not as much as it was when it was a big problem after Crimson Doubles last year. What are your thoughts if not only, say Thorn got a little bit of a range buff, and what are your thoughts on the damage over time? Because I feel like that's what makes it unique, and it barely does anything to people, I feel like.
Oh yeah, it's still one of the best anti-sniper weapons because it does have the green that goes on the screen, along with because the hand cannons have that 1.75 times flinch. Right. So it's still one of the best combatants to the snipers. But I'm with you on that. And again, they've nerfed range on Send It for a lot of players aren't using Thorn nowadays just because of just the bullet registration. Yeah. And it's still a pretty killer hand cannon if you get on a small map like Drifter, Asylum, things like that. Yeah. But if you go like on, let's say, Widow's Court with Thorn, you're going to have to rely on your movement and cover getting close in on a lot of players. But I do agree with that. The damage over time, especially, like I said, we're kind of in a meta right now where we have fast movement and slow killing primary weapons. I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Because you know, for the past couple years, you can nerf buff, but the things that's really stayed the same is the movement. The movement's still there, so you're seeing a lot of the Juggernaut Titans. You're seeing a lot of things like that. But we're not really going to get into the weapon or the classes.
Right.
More so on the that's a whole different story. But you're not really able to kill a lot of players coming at you faster than they can get to you and take you down with, let's say, a shotgun. So.
Of course. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So moving into a next category, and I'm going to lead with the exotic Red Death. Now, Red Death, to me, again, one of my favorites from year one. It looks cool. It sounds cool. That was my go-to pulse rifle in PvP in year two, basically, along with Nuren's Mercy. What are your thoughts on the pulse rifles of that archetype? And then after that, I'll get your opinions on the whole Clever Dragon high caliber rounds, because that's what I have, and that's all I tend to use, because when I try to use things like Red Death or Nuren's Mercy, I'm not effective if I'm going against a Grasp of Malak or Clever Dragon.
Oh, all right, so those high impact, we'll even throw Spare Change in there, and the Parthian shot. Again, everything has almost around the same body kill time. I did a video on it. It's like a 1.2 second. But the issue lies with those. Like, we'll take Red Death. I've noticed the issue with Red Death is the range. More importantly, the sight. Because if you think about it, when you get your Grasp, when you think you're the Clever Dragon, use those range sights, and it ends up having like a 2x zoom, which is like a scout rifle. But the Red Death has that close, like, true sight.
Yeah.
So that sight really plays a lot into it. And you're getting a lot of damage drop off with the Red Death. I mean, even at medium range. I mean, the aggressive ballistic should be doing about 31 or so, but you're getting down to the 20, 28, 29, and missing shots accuracy-wise on some of the larger maps at long distances. So I think it needs to have more range. Range is a big thing on them.
Okay. And what about the whole Clever Dragon, Grasp of Malak, the high caliber rounds of Clever Dragon? Because, I mean, I destroy people with them from pretty far, like really far away. I use one with Head Seeker on it and high caliber rounds. And I find when I did my testing on it, when people are farther away, obviously Head Seeker tends to proc a little more, just because of the fact that my first shot is not landing on the head, even though I'm landing on it. What are your thoughts on those fast-firing pulse rifles? Do you think Bungie should do anything to them, or high caliber rounds?
Well, first off, I'm pretty jealous of that roll.
I got lucky. The first Iron Banner at Lady Efforty came. That was one of the packages, and it sat there because I wasn't at the time using those. I was only using Mida and the Palindrome from the Crucible Quartermaster. But then I tried it out, and now it's like my go-to for everything now.
So what's kind of funny about the Clever Dragon and the Grasp is it's always kind of been there, and so we're talking about weapon balance. So you kind of have to talk about the past and the future, and the present. So when the game first came out, we're going to take another archetype too, like the Atheon's Apolog, the high rate of fire assault rifle.
Yep.
It did 13 to the head, and then the Oversoul Edict. What was it? The 1-2-3 synergy? I forget the pronunciation, but it was doing 21 to the head.
Right.
And then they both got a buff, and those fast firing pulse rifles were doing 24 to the head, more than they were doing now. Same thing with the Doctrine. It was doing 16. So where I'm getting to at with this is weapons in the very start of the game that you did not use because you're getting outgunned are now some of the best in the game. I mean, that's how much the time to kill is kind of lengthened, if that makes any sense. Because they didn't kill very fast back then, but now they're one of the fastest killings. So since we didn't use these high rate of fires, we didn't really know about flinch on fast firing weapon like the Grasp or the Atheon's Apolog or the Doctrine. And then you add on high caliber rounds. It's always been there, but we've always been using Thorn and Red Death and things like that. So now we're put in a position to where we have these fast firing weapons that apply a lot of flinch, then you add high caliber rounds. So compared to, let's say, like I said, you have the hand cannons, right? Some of the things that are supposed to combat it at some of the ranges that it should, you're having issues with because it is flinching you so hard. And it's a passive perk, high caliber rounds, that just means so much on the Grasp and on the Clever. It's pretty brutal right now.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about snipers in a bit, because one thing I've noticed is since I got my Clever Dragon with high caliber rounds and the nerf to how snipers got hit last patch, as soon as someone has their sights on me, if I start hitting them with my Clever Dragon, I notice they back the hell off really, really quickly. I do the same thing when I'm trying to snipe and I see the flinch factor, I immediately back off, which I do agree there should be some flinch, because prior to the last update, there were times where I was laying into someone, they had near no health, they still squeezed off the shot, got the headshot, and I'm dead. So I do kind of feel they should have added some flinch, but that might want to lead us into our next discussion, which is going to be secondaries, which is going to be snipers, shotguns, obviously the Matador issue that everyone's complaining about. And even I've gone the way of the Matador. I was trying to be a sniper for the last maybe 8 to 9 months, having a lot of fun with it, and just I couldn't compete. And I finally got a really good Matador with reinforced barrel, rangefinder, performance bonus, aggressive ballistics, and it's ridiculous some of the things I could pull off with it. So let me get your feedback and opinion on where snipers are at, shotguns, where they're at, and what you think Bungie should do to both of those types of weapons.
Snipers were a little too much. I understand where they were going. The increased flinch as you shoot gets to a 100 times flinch, which I forget which side. I believe it's ambush. There are some sights that flinch down instead of flinching up. So I use all the sights that flinch down. I think ambush is one of them. I'm not sure about short gaze, but it's a little bit easier returning fire. If anything, if they keep it like that, I just wish that all the aim down sight speed would be super fast. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that they did kind of nerf quick draw and snapshot. I mean, if anything, bring those back just so you can have that quick shot maybe to get off. But you're absolutely right. When you're taking fire, you have to take cover or just pray. I mean, because you look up in the sky when they're hitting you with the clever dragon. So
yeah. Okay. So and the whole Matador situation, Cosmo did kind of hint at the in one of the blog posts, that they are aware of the quote Matador issue, but at the same time they don't want to nerf them into the ground so that they're not usable. What do you think about the whole shotgun thing? The whole shotgun warrior, Titan, Juggernaut, blink. I mean, I'm a warlock. I'm blink shotgunning now. You know what I mean? That's my thing. What do you think they should do with shotguns?
Hey, which low-key, blink is a really good thing right now, guys. A lot of people won't tell you that, because when a Juggernaut's coming at you, just go up in the air and blink. The whole goal is to get him to break the shield, and that'll do it immediately. So blink is a good thing. But, they tried... I would say like the 2 to the Morgue archetype is really good if you can get a good roll on it, because they gave that whatever 2.5% buff, but that's not going to be enough, because as it sat when the Felt Winter came out, that was it. The impact and range, that is it. No matter what you do, I mean, combined with, like I said, the movement, the map design. They came out with a lot of these new maps. We'll say Vertigo when that came out. A lot of it is just corridored to that playstyle. So you have people coming around corners, running into a wall with a Juggernaut, then coming straight at you. It's really hard to defend, and I'm not really sure what they could do. Honestly, this might not be a popular opinion, but I think that the Matador and the shotguns are fine. I know. I don't really shotgun, but it's everything else. Okay, because everything else has been brought down so much that it's really hard to combat it, and the ultimate goal would just be take out that archetype. Just get rid of it. Just like they did with Shot Package. But
that would kind of defeat the purpose, I think.
I know,
because I even noticed with my Matador, it's not consistent. There's some times where I'm up close and it'll take them down to almost near nothing. I'm like, how did it not kill that guy? But at the same time, I'll hit someone. Most of their health is gone, and then they could still be really far away trying to get away. And since I have rangefinder on it, I'll 2-tap them with it, and they'll be wondering, how did he get me from that far? Well, because of the fact that their shield, some of their health was down, and I have a Matador with rangefinder, I was able to tap them with it. So, I don't know. I don't think, we'll have to wait and see what Bungie does with this next update, because people are complaining about the Matadors. I got myself one, and I gotta admit, it is fun using it, but I do miss myself sniping. But when it comes to games like Skirmish or Threes, that's when I'll try to snipe, because it's just the Matador thing's not working out for me. Lastly, just wanted to touch on, what are your thoughts on fusion rifles? A good buddy of mine, Raider, shout out to him, Raider XOF, he's got himself a God Roll Saladin's Vigil, and oh my God, does he destroy people with that thing. I'm trying to grind for one myself. Where do you think fusion rifles are at right now for PvP?
I believe that they're in a really good spot. I love them. I have a Saladin's with rangefinder, small bore, so a little range, a little stability on it. It's one of the best ones. That and Plan C.
Yeah.
Each New Day is another really good one. Just where the game is at right now, it's a very good counter. It's a fairly reliable counter compared to where it's been in the past year before they buffed them a little bit. I honestly think that they're in a perfect spot. If anything, well, just leave them be. Leave them be. Just leave them be. Sidearms too. Sidearms really good counter too. It's just that the Matador is just so strong right now, you know?
Right, I know.
It's a shame.
You know, because there was times where I try to use my teacup Tempest that I've got a pretty good roll in it, and my beloved Queen's Choice, and, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, let's go sidearming. And then the first few deaths to a Matador, I'm like, okay, let me put the sidearm away and
Put back on the Matador.
And go back on the Matador. So, all right, guys, that's all we got for you guys. We want to know what your thoughts and opinions are on what we discussed. And we didn't talk about everything, obviously, because we could be here for 45 minutes. But do me a favor, guys, in the comment section, let us know your thoughts on all these archetypes that we talked about. What do you think they should do? Also, make sure to subscribe to Cool Guy. His links will be in the description. He is a PvP scientist, and I'm always a fanboying over him because he can explain things from a beast perspective for average players like myself that can understand. So, with that being said, do me a favor, guys, drop a like in this video only if you see fit. Follow us. I'm gonna link his Twitter too on the Twitter at Mesa Sean. Check out my stream, usually on YouTube, and that's it. We are out of here like Vladimir.